Hello?
He was dying of thirst when Hannah found him. The Apache warrior lay face down in the dust beside her well, his breathing shallow and rough.
Blood soaked through his shirt from a bullet wound in his shoulder. Hannah stood frozen in her doorway, water bucket in hand, staring at the man who her neighbors would call the enemy. She had a choice to make: help him and risk everything, or let him die and live with that choice forever. Hannah looked at the empty land around her failing ranch. She'd been alone since her husband died 2 years ago. The town of Dry Hollow already whispered about the widow who couldn't run a ranch properly. What would they say if they knew she helped an Apache? But Hannah couldn't just watch someone die. She knelt beside him and lifted his head gently. The water touched his cracked lips. His eyes opened, dark and intense, needing hers for just a moment before closing again. She dried them inside, cleaned his wound, and let him rest on her kitchen floor. The next morning changed everything. Hannah woke to the sound of horses. Many horses. She rushed to her window and her heart nearly stopped. Apache warriors surrounded her house. At least 20 of them sat on their horses in complete silence, watching her front door. This was it. This was how she would die, alone on a dusty ranch, because she gave a dying man water. But they didn't attack. They just waited. The wounded warrior, now awake, pushed himself up despite his injury. He walked outside, and Hannah followed, too scared to stay inside alone. The warrior spoke to his people in Apache. The conversation was short. Then, to Hannah's complete shock, the tribe turned and rode away, all except him. He turned to Hannah and said one word in broken English: "Dad." His name was Dakota, though it took her 3 days to learn that. He didn't talk much. Instead, he showed his gratitude through action. That first day, he fixed her broken fence despite his injured shoulder. She tried to stop him, but he just shook his head and kept working.
Within a week, Dakota had repaired her barn door, fixed the chicken coop, and dug a new irrigation ditch from the creek. He slept in the barn and ate simple meals with her in silence. Hannah found herself getting used to his quiet presence. For the first time in 2 years, she didn't feel completely alone. But secrets don't stay hidden long in small towns. Sarah Miller saw him first when she rode past Hannah's ranch on her way to town. By sunset, everyone in Dry Hollow knew that the widow Hannah had an Apache living on her property. The next morning, Sheriff Coleman knocked on her door. "Hannah, what are you thinking?" The sheriff's face was red with worry. "You got any idea what you're doing?" "I'm helping someone who needed help," Hannah said, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. "That's not just someone. That's an Apache warrior. They've been raiding settlements all along the valley. Folks are scared, and now you're keeping one like a house pet." "He's not a pet. He's working off a debt." The sheriff shook his head. "You're putting yourself in danger. You're putting the whole town in danger. Make him leave, Hannah, today." But Hannah didn't make Dakota leave. She couldn't explain why, even to herself. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was stubbornness. Or maybe it was the way he'd looked at her that first day, with eyes that held both pride and gratitude. The town's fear grew into anger. People stopped talking when Hannah came to buy supplies. The general store owner charged her double for flour. Children threw rocks at her wagon. But the worst was yet to come. Brody Carson had wanted Hannah's land since her husband died. He owned the biggest ranch in the valley and wanted hers to access the creek that ran through it. He'd offered to buy it 3 times, and 3 times Hannah had said no. Now he saw his chance. "That woman's lost her mind," Brody told the men gathered in the saloon. "Keeping a savage on her land. Who knows what he's planning? Maybe he's scouting for his tribe. Maybe they're planning to attack the whole town." Fear was a powerful tool, and Brody knew how to use it. 3 nights later, Hannah woke to the sound of breaking glass. Her window shattered as a rock flew through it. Outside, she heard men shouting. She recognized some of the voices. Tom Bradley, who ran the bank, Jim Torres, who owned the feed store, and leading them all was Brody Carson. "Send him out, Hannah," Brody shouted. "Send out that Apache, or we're coming in." Hannah grabbed her husband's old rifle, but her hands shook too much to hold it steady. Then Dakota was beside her. He took the rifle from her hands gently and shook his head. He walked outside unarmed. The men had torches and guns. There were 5 of them, their faces twisted with fear and hate. Dakota stood on the porch, calm and unafraid.
There he is. Tom Bradley raised his gun. Dakota moved faster than Hannah had ever seen anyone move. He grabbed Tom's gun hand and twisted. The gun fell to the ground. Jim Torres rushed forward, but Dakota swept his legs and sent him tumbling into the dust. One by one, Dakota disarmed and defeated each man without throwing a single punch to kill or seriously hurt anyone. Only Brody remained standing, his gun pointed at Dakota. "You think you're tough?" Brody's voice shook. "My ranch hands will come. The whole town will come. We'll burn this place to the ground." Dakota said nothing. He just stared at Brody with those dark, intense eyes. After a long moment, Brody lowered his gun. "This isn't over," he promised, backing away. The other men scrambled to their feet and followed him into the night. Hannah found herself standing beside Dakota on the porch. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded once and went back to the barn. But Brody kept his promise. It wasn't over. For 3 days, Hannah waited for the attack she knew would come. Dakota seemed to sense it too. He stayed closer to the house, always watching the horizon. On the 3rd night, they came. This time, it wasn't 5 men. It was 20. Half the town had come, driven by Brody's lies and their own fear. They came at sunset, when the sky was the color of blood. Hannah saw them coming from a long way off, a dust cloud rising from the road. She could have run. She could have told Dakota to leave. Instead, she loaded her husband's rifle and waited on the porch. Dakota stood beside her, still unarmed. The mob stopped just outside her fence. Brody rode at the front, his face twisted with anger and greed. "Last chance, Hannah," he shouted. "Send him away and sell me your land, or we'll take it all by force." Hannah felt something change inside her. 2 years of grief, loneliness, and fear suddenly transformed into something else. Anger. Clear, pure anger at the injustice of it all. She stepped forward, rifle in hand but pointed at the ground. "You want my land, Brody. That's what this has always been about. This is about protecting our town from savages. No, it's about water rights and greed." Hannah's voice carried clear and strong. "You wanted my creek access since John died. You tried to buy it when I was grieving. You tried to scare me when I was alone. And now you're using fear to turn good people into a mob." She looked at the faces in the crowd, some she'd known for years. "Tom Bradley. Didn't Dakota have the chance to hurt you 3 nights ago? Did he? Jim Torres. He could have broken your arm when he disarmed you. Did he?" The men shifted uncomfortably. "This man saved my life," Hannah continued, though that wasn't exactly true. But it felt true. "He's worked hard, hurt no one, and asked for nothing but food and shelter. The only violence here has come from you." "She's bewitched," Brody shouted. "Can't you see? She's turned against her own kind." "My own kind?" Hannah laughed, but it was bitter. "My kind left me to run a failing ranch alone. My kind charged me double for supplies. My kind threw rocks at my wagon. If that's my kind, I'll take my chances with him." She raised the rifle, not pointing it at anyone, but holding it ready. "Get off my land, all of you. You can't fight all of us," Brody warned. "No," said a new voice, "but we can." Everyone turned. On the ridge behind Hannah's ranch, Apache warriors appeared. 1, then 5, then 10, then more. They sat on their horses, silent and watching. The same tribe that had come that first morning. The mob's courage melted like snow in summer. Horses stepped backward. Men muttered prayers. Guns lowered. We didn't." Tom Bradley was the first to turn his horse around. "Cowards!" Brody shouted. "They're bluffing. They won't attack a whole town." But his words fell on deaf ears. The mob was already breaking apart, men riding away as fast as their horses could carry them. Soon, only Brody remained. He looked at Hannah with pure hate. "You'll regret this." "The only thing I regret," Hannah said quietly, "is not standing up to you sooner."
Brody left, spurring his horse cruelly. The Apache warriors waited until he was gone, then they too disappeared over the ridge like ghosts. All except one, a older warrior, rode down to the ranch. He spoke to Dakota in Apache for a long moment, then looked at Hannah. He nodded once, a gesture of respect, before riding away. Hannah and Dakota stood together on the porch, watching the dust settle. "Your people were watching," Hannah said. It wasn't really a question. Dakota nodded. "Always watching. Debt, not just mine. Whole tribe owes." It was the most he'd ever said to her at once. Things changed after that night. The town kept its distance, but it was different now. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was respect. Hannah could go to town for supplies without rocks being thrown. The store owner charged her fair prices. People nodded when they passed her, quick and nervous, but they nodded. Brody tried to stir up trouble a few more times, but no one listened. His greed had been exposed, and the town had seen what came of following him. He eventually sold his ranch and moved away, beaten by a widow and a wounded warrior who never threw a punch in anger. Dakota stayed. As fall turned to winter, he helped Hannah bring in her first successful harvest in 2 years. They worked side by side in comfortable silence. Sometimes, in the evenings, they would sit on the porch and watch the sunset. Hannah would talk about her late husband, about her dreams for the ranch. Dakota would listen and sometimes share a word or two about his own life. One evening, as snow began to fall, Dakota surprised her. "I stay," he said simply. "No more debt. I stay because I choose." Hannah felt tears in her eyes. "I'd like that." The ranch began to thrive. With Dakota's help, Hannah expanded her fields and bought more cattle. The creek that Brody had wanted so badly irrigated crops that fed half the valley by the next summer. Some folks from town even came to buy from her directly, drawn by fair prices and quality produce. Sheriff Coleman visited one last time that spring. "I owe you an apology," he said, hat in hand. "I lacked fear cloud my judgment. You showed more courage than any of us." Hannah accepted his apology graciously. She'd learned that holding on to anger was like holding on to a hot coal. It only burned the person holding it. As for Dakota, he built himself a proper room in the barn and made it his home. He learned more English, and Hannah learned some Apache. They were an odd pair, the widow and the warrior, but they worked. Two lonely souls who had found something neither expected, a partnership built on respect, trust, and a simple act of kindness. The Apache tribe still watched from the ridges sometimes. Hannah would see them and wave. They never waved back, but she knew they saw her. She was under their protection now, just as Dakota was under hers. One day, a young couple passing through stopped for water. They were dusty and tired from the trail. Hannah gave them fresh water and food without hesitation. As they left, the woman asked, "Aren't you afraid, living out here with just him?" She nodded toward Dakota. Hannah smiled. "The only thing I'm afraid of is what I might have become if I'd let fear make my choices." The woman didn't understand, but that was okay. Hannah didn't need her to. That night, Hannah and Dakota sat on the porch as they did every evening. The stars were bright in the clear sky. A coyote howled in the distance. "Do you miss your people?" Kim asked. "They are there." Dakota pointed to the ridge. "I am here. Both are home now." Hannah understood. Home wasn't just a place. It was where you chose to stand your ground. It was where you fought for what was right. It was where someone would give you water when you were dying of thirst, even when the whole world said not to. All of this started with a simple cup of water. One small act of kindness that rippled outward like circles in a pond. It brought conflict, yes. It brought fear and anger and violence. But it also brought courage, justice, and an unexpected friendship that changed two lives forever. The ranch is still there today, though Hannah and Dakota are long gone. People say if you look carefully at sunset, you can sometimes see Apache warriors on the ridge, still watching, still protecting. They say the well never runs dry, no matter how hot the summer. They say it's because the water there was blessed by an act of pure kindness. Maybe that's just a legend. Maybe it's just a story people tell. But sometimes the stories we tell are more true than facts. Sometimes they carry the real truth about who we are and who we can choose to be. What do you think? Could you have done what Hannah did? Would you have given water to someone everyone called your enemy? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story from the Old West, where courage came in unexpected forms and justice prevailed against greed, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have many more tales of the frontier, where ordinary people made extraordinary choices that echo through history. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.